The restaurant buzzed with the chatter of diners and the clinking of silverware. Amid the bustling crowd, a frail old woman stepped inside. Her clothes were simple, and her trembling hands clutched a small, worn purse. She scanned the room nervously, as if unsure of her place in such an upscale establishment. Seated at the front desk, Jake, a young waiter with a sharp jawline and sharper tongue, sighed audibly. He was known among the staff for his impatience. "What can I do for you?" he asked, his tone barely masking his annoyance. The elderly woman smiled warmly. "Good evening, young man. I was hoping to have a meal here." Jake's eyes flicked to the tables filled with well-dressed patrons. "Do you have a reservation?" he asked pointedly. The woman hesitated. "No, but I was told I could just walk in." "We're very busy tonight," Jake snapped. "This isn't the kind of place you just show up to." "I don't mind waiting," she replied, her voice gentle. She reached into her purse and pulled out a small, crumpled note. "My son told me this place serves the best food in town." Jake rolled his eyes. "Fine. Sit over there," he said, gesturing to a table near the kitchen door, a spot most waiters avoided assigning to customers. Without waiting for a response, he turned and walked away. The old woman settled into her seat, still smiling. However, as the minutes turned into half an hour, no one came to take her order. Jake deliberately avoided her gaze, prioritizing other tables and ignoring her raised hand. Finally, the woman called out softly, "Excuse me, young man, may I order now?" Jake approached with a huff. "What do you want?" "Could I have a bowl of soup, please?" she asked. Her tone was kind, though her frailty was evident. Jake snorted. "Just soup? You came all this way for that?" The woman's cheeks flushed, but she nodded. "Yes, please." "Fine, I'll get it," Jake muttered, stomping off. As Jake brought the soup to her table, he plopped it down carelessly, some of the broth spilling onto the saucer. "Here." The woman's hands trembled as she picked up her spoon. Jake stood watching, arms crossed. "Anything else? Or is that good enough for you?" Before she could answer, the restaurant's double doors swung open, and a tall, well-dressed man entered. His presence commanded attention, and the staff immediately straightened up. It was Mr. Harris, the owner of the restaurant. Mr. Harris scanned the room and froze when his eyes landed on the old woman. His face lit up and he hurried over. "Mom, what are you doing here?" The restaurant fell silent as all eyes turned to the elderly woman. Jake's face drained of color. "Oh, hello, dear," the woman said, her smile brightening. "I wanted to surprise you and see the place you've worked so hard to build." Mr. Harris hugged her tightly before pulling back to examine her face. "Why didn't you tell me you were coming?" "I wanted it to be a surprise," she replied softly. Mr. Harris turned to the staff, his voice firm. "Who served my mother?" Jake's heart pounded in his chest. He stepped forward hesitantly. I did, sir." Mr. Harris's eyes narrowed. "And did you treat her well?" Jake stammered. I didn't realize she was your mother." "Does it matter who she is?" Mr. Harris shot back. "Every customer deserves respect." Tears welled up in the old woman's eyes. "It's all right, son. I'm sure he didn't mean any harm." But Mr. Harris wasn't ready to let it go. He turned to Jake. "You've been with us long enough to know better. Kindness costs nothing. My mother raised me to treat everyone with dignity, no matter their appearance. Perhaps you need to learn that lesson." Jake lowered his head, shame washing over him. "I'm sorry, ma'am. I was rude and disrespectful." The old woman smiled kindly. "Apology accepted. But remember, young man, you never know what someone's story is. A little kindness can go a long way." The restaurant remained abuzz with whispers after the incident. Jake spent the rest of the evening reflecting on his actions, realizing the gravity of his behavior. He approached Mr. Harris privately, saying, "Sir, I want to make this right. How can I truly apologize to your mother?" Mr. Harris folded his arms. "Show her with your actions, not just words." Over the next week, Jake's demeanor transformed. He greeted every customer with warmth, ensuring no one felt ignored or disrespected. When the elderly woman returned to the restaurant a few days later, Jake welcomed her at the door with a smile. "It's a pleasure to see you again, ma'am. Please, follow me." He escorted her to the best table in the house, offering her a menu and personally recommending dishes. During the meal, he checked in frequently, ensuring she had everything she needed. Her laughter and warmth filled the room, creating a comforting atmosphere that drew smiles from other diners. As the evening progressed, the woman spoke with Jake, sharing stories about her life, her late husband, and the values she had instilled in her children. Jake listened intently, feeling a newfound respect for her and an appreciation for his role as a server. He realized his job was more than delivering food. It was about creating an experience and making people feel valued. When the woman finished her meal, Jake presented her with a handwritten note alongside the bill. It read, "Thank you for teaching me the importance of kindness and humility. Your wisdom has changed my perspective, and I'm grateful for the lesson." The woman's eyes shimmered with emotion as she read the note. She stood and patted Jake on the shoulder. "You've done well, young man. Keep this kindness in your heart and you'll go far." The restaurant staff noticed Jake's change in attitude, and it inspired them to reflect on their own behavior. Mr. Harris held a meeting that week, praising Jake's transformation and reminding the team of the restaurant's core values. "This place isn't just about food. It's about how we make people feel," he said. Months later, the restaurant's reputation grew, not just for its exquisite menu but for the exceptional service. Jake became a role model for new hires, sharing his story and emphasizing the importance of treating every customer with dignity. One evening, as Jake closed the restaurant, he reflected on how much he had changed. He smiled, thinking of the elderly woman who had taught him a lesson he'd never forget. Her kindness and understanding had reshaped not only his career but also his outlook on life. Moral of the story: treat everyone with kindness and respect, regardless of their appearance or status. You never know the impact your actions can have or who you might be interacting with. The smallest acts of kindness can leave lasting impressions and transform lives.